I don't know if you can hear this. I don't know if you can hear this. I am live. Something's going. Is it working? Can you see me now? How is this? Let me just test. We're all working remotely, so everybody's logging in from different sides, and I have a feedback loop going across different channels across the internet, and I think only on YouTube, not on X. Now, here we doing. How's this going? I think it's live on YouTube. I need to. Why is this not working on X? I think. Okay, I'm going to cancel the broadcast. Yes, please. Forum, create new broadcast. I'm going to type in all the details. Sorry, guys. I've got different setup, as you can see. This time around, I'm back in the studio. Before we get off, here we go. Chat. Everyone can chat. Schedule start now. Public. It's available. Create broadcast now. And you should be seeing me on X now. How's this, everybody? You got it? Only on YouTube, coming live. It's ramping up on X. It is live on X now. Boom, should be live. There we go. Hey, everybody. Okay, somebody's online on YouTube. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Apparently, I've been doing the last two podcasts and AMAs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, like I do every time, but they weren't being broadcasted. So it was just being recorded on Riverside, which is great to know and great to see. But anyway, hope the audio is working good. Let's see any feedback on the audio. How's it sounding? Let me know in the chats. Or yeah, it should be good. I hope that the audio is good. Yeah, lots going on. It's been an amazing weekend. It's weird, right? Today's Tuesday, and it seems like it's like Thursday already, right? We've been working all weekend trying to get closure on some of the activities that we're working on. And there's a huge pipeline that we've actually finally beginning to convert and transition into these new, all the last years of work is actually beginning to bear some fruit. It's been an amazing couple of days where everybody's back, everybody's excited, and we're moving into Q4 and we want to get stuff done. There's a lot of momentum. And all the work that we've been slogging through the last year and a half are now beginning to finally bear fruit, and people are beginning to appreciate the tenacity, the persistence that you always need as an entrepreneur. Hi, my name's Stefan Rust. I'm the founder of Truth Network by Truflation.com. And those are the two platforms you need to follow, subscribe, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. What do we do here? I tell you a bit about my experiences. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've launched many businesses, raised lots of different monies, and worked with many VCs, as well as investors in tokens, and launched always cutting edge, blue ocean oriented projects and protocols. Truth Network is blue ocean, and so is Truflation. We started this 4 years ago, and we are today a signal. Everybody thought we were crazy. Why are you doing that? Who cares about inflation? Then inflation hit. Oh, why do we care about your true inflation? Because we have the BLS inflation. And today, more so than ever, we're seeing that the BLS has been corrupted, manipulating data, or misrepresenting data. Now, thank God, we've got a great new representative leading up that organization. And again, we're here to help. We've always been here to help. We want to work with the BLS and make it a success, especially with EJ now running the business over there. So let him get settled in. We're ready. We're on standby. And he knows where to reach us. We're here. Anyway, that said, we've got lots of activity for you. What I'm going to talk to you about today is obviously the one thing that really matters and everybody really cares about is what is going to happen at the FOMC. And when is that going to kick off? That's tomorrow. Everybody's waiting. 50 basis points, 100 basis points. The UK experienced zero growth So how are they going to do it? Enter stagflation. What is stagflation? Stagflation has two words in it: inflation and stagnation. The economy stagnates, it holds steady, doesn't grow. Inflation is per is remaining sticky inside that market. So it's economy stagnating, and inflation is persisting. What does that mean? That means that it's really difficult to increase money supply into the market to stimulate growth, because ultimately adding money supply into the market historically proves to provide inflation. We've always been talking about 3 is the new 2. What does that mean? 3% is the new 2%. So no more 2% benchmark hurdle rates for inflation. Get it to 3% and let's lean into growth. And I think a lot of the economies around the world have forgotten how to grow. And China has been growing for the last 30 years persistently, consistently, thanks to technology. The US is beginning to turn around. We're seeing significant investments into new technologies, leading technologies. The Middle East, they know what growth is. They've already leveraged growth. And both of those economies, by the way, China and the Middle East, have been leveraging technology, media, and entertainment as means to drive growth. The US, under previous administrations, have been limiting the adoption of technology, not leaning in, but leaning back and reining in super tight the innovation and technology. But now that rein is being let off. Have you guys heard what just happened now? Trump has been asking to take away the quarterly reporting requirements by the SEC. I mean, ultimately, it's the SEC role, and that will take away a lot of the quarterly, time horizons that all of these operations and CEOs have to operate under, and put it into semi-annual. It'll also save a lot of expenses, because each time you have to go through the filings, each time you need auditors, each time you need accountants, each time you need lawyers. Each one of those reportings and filings require a huge lift, especially if you're a big multi-billion-dollar enterprise, if not trillion-dollar enterprise. What is that adding in value? What jobs is that creating? Those monies could be used to fund additional assets, could be fund, investments, could drive energy growth, et cetera, et cetera. So interesting times ahead. And again, what am I covering off here? Generally, I spend about 20 minutes talking to you about Truflation, what's going on, the economy, how's that doing, entrepreneurs, startups, new businesses, and new alpha. Where is opportunities to come through? Today, FOMC is the hot topic. Everybody's expecting interest rate drops, so we'll be covering a bit around that. We'll be talking about, obviously, the inflation report. We talked a lot about inflation in the last week. We had numbers come in sort of on par with expectations. And so what does that mean? And we'll talk about truflation. Where is truflation, and what are we seeing from an economic standpoint? And what are probabilities looking like in the future? And where does that leave us with opportunities? And what sort of opportunities are we going to see? That's what I'll cover today. And let's kick it off right away with FOMC, right? I think, we've got the FOMC meeting coming up on, here we go. Here's the table. You can see the infamous there, Lisa Cook, who was sued by Trump and went to court, fought back to be and not be kicked out of the FOMC. You can see here, this is follow Nick Timiraos. He's chief economist at the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, sorry, and he always got his ear in the FOMC meeting somehow. Whether you like Wall Street Journal or not, I'm not a big fan of it, but ultimately they are meeting today, and tomorrow we'll hear the results of their meetings. And already Barclays has heard rumors around the dot plot. We're not going to be worried too much about the interest rates drops. I think the whole market is expecting a 25 basis point drop. And that is already built into the economy. If they drop more, the markets will actually take that as a positive signal. But I think what more people are waiting for is, what does that dot plot look like? What is the dot plot? The dot plot sort of forecasts out into the next sort of rest of this year, let's say, into seeing how many of the members of the Fed FOMC will be voting. What are their votes in terms of when to drop into the future? And so we get more visibility into what each of the Federal Reserve members is thinking and what they're thinking of in terms of interest rate drops over the course of the next couple of months. And so that's something that everybody will be paying attention to. Every single word that Jerome Powell says when he's on that podium will be dissected. I don't know why. I don't know, because I think the FOMC is actually losing in validity, losing in influence, and losing in credibility. Why? They're using old data. They say that they're very data driven, and we've heard they're using old data. We know that data from the BLS is really old. It's wrong. They're being reported incorrectly. So how can they make good, accurate decisions, right? And there was a good post over here by Pablo Telleria, who is in actually, it's all in Spanish. So bear with me. I think they have a translate mode, but ultimately, what's he saying? He's talking about data manipulation or defective mechanisms for compiling statistics. All of you know that we launched Truflation because of the reason to mitigate any kind of manipulation, transparency, putting all of the primitive data sets and the methodology on a blockchain so anybody can see that. And that's what you see when you go to TruthScan. You see the methodology. In order to get attestation and verification from the Truth Network that that is an accurate number at that point in time, that is how the Truth Network provides utility to all of those working and looking for a source of truth for their indexes and other calculations, or even just raw primitive data sets. But either way, the revision of the employment data, as we all saw, was by 911,000. I mean, that's nearly a million headcount that has not been allowed or disappeared. Why is that, right? And so here he talks about the different surveys, right? The first, so how does the BLS actually aggregate and collect employment data, right? The first is done in the old-fashioned way. They go around, knock on doors manually, and ask people, are you employing? And then they take that demographic information and then they scale that across the whole country. And the second way they do that is is known as the Current Employment Statistics Survey. This is a survey that is collected from thousands of businesses and government agencies using phone, online surveys, or even large corporations through automated data transfer. So maybe they use some APIs. Ooh, funny, that would be a developer approach. But those are the two angles that they use. And what happened then on the 9th of September, a couple of days ago? Why did they revise it so bad? Why is this manual methodology going door to door, household to household, and then trying to extrapolate that? Why did that go wrong? And why do these surveys go wrong, right? People answer surveys with their brain. What we need to do is get their heart and respond with their heart. Obviously, employment data is slightly easier. You're actually filling out forms. You see how many people you've got employed and how many you've got on your books, right? So from an accounting standpoint, that should be pretty rational. So you want to use your brain for that. But maybe, some people are just employed temporarily. Some people are employed, through different means. Who knows how they are reported? Some are reported as contractors. So they're not actually employees. So you don't actually see all of that. Some are consultants. Some are employed as gig workers. You outsource some of the specific tasks that you need to have done, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, According to a report by the Department of Labor, the labor market created far fewer jobs than previously believed, raising concerns about the health of the US economy. So remember, the FOMC that's meeting is talking about the FOMC is meeting and is talking about the different metrics, right? So they have two key drivers that really matter to them, right? What are those key drivers? It is inflation, number one, and it is employment. Employment numbers are what is going to be impacting their decision about interest rates tomorrow. And the result, I mean, obviously, throughout the days that they've got the meeting, it's over 2 days. So it's today and tomorrow. And tomorrow we hear the result and the conclusions of those meetings. And so the conclusion will be really tied to employment data. And ultimately, this drop is going to be significant. Is this drop significant enough to get us a 50 basis points drop? But the market is baked in a 25 basis point drop, and the market will see how will evolve based on either a surprise drop greater than 25%, and based on Jerome Powell's statement that he does at the end of the FOMC, which is basically a conclusion of what everybody talks about. And so ultimately, that's what's going to come to the head here. And yeah, let's see. The Department of Labor's annual review originate with more complete information, as well as tax data that essentially offers a complete review of data. So they take then into account not just the two elements that we were talking about before, knocking on doors and then doing surveys, but then they take later at a time frame, once tax information is filed, they then get a much better, bigger, more accurate reflection of what's really going on. Stay tuned. Truflation will provide an employment metric and an unemployment metric. So you will have the truth around employment and unemployment, which gives you a far better reflection of how an economy is performing. That is coming ASAP very soon, along with some other mega announcements. We got some really cool announcements coming. Stay tuned, watch, subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. Follow us on Twitter and on X, and on Telegram. That's where you get all your news. And on LinkedIn, by the way, we're also super active over there and trying to keep our communities informed of what is really happening in an economy. And so, so most of the reporting period came before Donald Trump took office, indicating that the jobs outlook was deteriorating before he began imposing tariffs on trading partners. These signs of weaknesses in the labor market will add to statements by Trump, who's been pushing the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. A White House statement said Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has officially run out of excuses and must cut rates now. Well, as Powell calls him, as Trump calls him, too late, Powell. Maybe it is a bit too late. I think we've seen a lot of issues with the reporting, and I think also EJ Antony coming in there will really help fix things. I talked about the bonds and the yields last time, so I won't talk about that there. But why do I think the FOMC will be losing in influence? I think there are a couple of things. The FOMC is good at a couple of things, but setting interest rates, reviewing data sets, I don't think that's the best thing that they're working on. They should ensure liquidity, right? Make sure that the overnight rates are really good. So when there's liquidity crunch, that they can come in and help out, drive and support and fill the gaps needed where liquidity is needed to backstop certain crunch times. So that's one thing that they're going to be really good at. Maybe then setting the framework. How should people in the financial market work? Then the Treasury can work directly with the financial institutions with raw data that those financial institutions have access to, equal access to anybody and everybody associated with economic and financial data. And that way they can then actually make their own conclusions And the market sets the price for interest rates. No longer an FOMC, no longer the Federal Reserve, but the market. Why? All of these experts, all of these analysts, they can then decide what they're willing to pay for treasury bills. They can work out what is inflation, what is the GDP economy looking like, and they can make their own forecasts in terms of how that's going. And they can use agentic solutions to do that. So you don't need to have a big, huge institution to do that. You, as a smart individual and investor, can actually start working with real data to make your own conclusions. So that's really exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing more around that. Yeah, the other thing was really, we have an overview. So if you are a subscriber, of Truflation, that is, if you are a subscriber, you get obviously interesting insights. So Oliver's done his daily macro news snippet. So this is a snippet, but this is what Oliver starts off with, just to see the volume that Oliver and his team put together and work with before they comes down to a snippet that you get. But we'll have a daily macro snippet that you can see. This is back from 2nd of September. So it's a bit old, right? He talks the FOMC should look to reduce rates in their September meeting, right? So that's the summary. He goes over to why 3-month rolling jobs. Already we've identified that jobs are going to go down. They're going to be misplaced. And then on the 20th of August, he talks about, again here, the producer price. So you can see all of this data that we have access to is being used to provide insights for everybody, right? And so you can also see here a detailed report that if you're, again, a subscriber, you get a detailed summary of what is really going on in the inflation landscape, where you can see the economy grew faster pace, right? And so the whole idea is learning to grow again. How does an economy grow? And let's face it, it's technology. That's what drives growth. How is technology fueled? With energy. They need data centers. They need compute requirements. And that's what they need. How do they get energy? Oil is one source, solar, wind, battery power, whatever source you need, but you also need land. You need to be able to build out data centers that support and are efficiently creating compute resources, making available compute resources, and running inferences using AI, yada, 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 right? So all of that is needed. So in essence, a lot of the AI technology plays are already super valued, but where is energy in all of this? Who are some of the innovative energy producers? SMNRs, right? Small, medium nuclear reactors, modular nuclear reactors, sorry. Where are they? Who are the manufacturers of? If you listen to the show, you hear about these companies. Rolls-Royce is one of them, and apparently in the UK, they're one of the sole suppliers. There's a second sole supplier. There is a second supplier in addition to Rolls-Royce that will be a supplier. Who is that? In the US, we saw deals between Microsoft and Amazon working with SMNR manufacturers in the US to build out and support and feed data centers with modular reactors. Who are those companies? If you paid attention to the show, you would have known. So hit the subscribe button, follow. This is where you get alpha. This is where you learn how to make money, create money, and invest in the right things. You have to learn, you have to do your own decisions, and you have to make your own decisions, and you have to do your own research. All we do here is provide a perspective and provide you with the tools so that you can learn and find out where and how to make those decisions and those investments. Yeah, that's really what I wanted to cover off. Tomorrow, buckle up. Let's see what the Federal Reserve shares and how much they drop by. I have a slight inclination. It might be 50 basis points, right? And hope you enjoyed that. Please follow, sign up, subscribe. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about in the next show. Happy to share our insights, our thoughts based on your requests. So hit it in the likes and the chat buttons. We'll take it in and try to work with that data sets. Hope you enjoyed this. Have an amazing Tuesday. Good luck for Wednesday. You know, the S&P 500 is at an all-time high right now, and the money printer is not going to stop. You look at money supply. Money supply is at an all-time high. M2 money supply. Sorry, I'm just going on a diatribe quickly, but I just want you to see how the money supply is continuing to grow. And you can see here all the way, let's, here. And why is money supply so important? Money supply means there is more money in location, in circulation. Where does that money go? Does that money go here? Look at in the last year, we've gone from in July 2024 and all the way up to July 2025. Look at that growth rate. That's nearly a 10% growth, not quite 10% growth. But yeah, quite a significant growth rate. That means more money is in circulation, more money is being used for investment. And where is that investment? It's generally going into stocks, and it's generally going to crypto assets and maybe other assets as well. But in theory, what this should do is also support the lending and housing market. But yeah, this will continue to grow. Money printers going burr, interest rates going to come down, which is going to stimulate the economy, add more money into the market. And yeah, so what does that mean? That means that things will go up. And watch this graph as a leading indicator if this starts to move. But look, this is July 2025. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And we're looking at 2025. Come on, man. We're now in September 15th. And you can't be telling me that this is the latest updated data set. You've got nothing more. You can see here, July 2025. So it's too late. When this retracts, it's too late for us to realize that it's retracted. And by that time, guess what? All of the institutions will have had this information before the public has it. That is the downside. And that's why we created the Truth Network, so you get it the same time as everybody else. So you can make your own decisions. You can use the calculations that are real time and active, available to everybody at the same time. And so you don't need to wait until July gets updated all the way later on. We will have interesting news sources as to where you can get this data. I'm not sure we have the M2 money supply on Truflation.com yet, but trust me, you will get it very soon. And I'm not going to log in now because I'm not signed in and I need to do this whole thing again. And I don't want to share this, guys, with you. Here in Truflation.com, we have M2. Do we have money supply? We don't have it yet. Okay, coming very, very soon. Stay tuned. We have a whole bunch of other data coming. So take care. This is what we work on. We will bring you real-time, qualified data sets, fast and furious, so that you don't need to wait till, I don't know, what's this? We tell you inflation, we're 45 days ahead. If this is the case, we're going to be, what's September 16th right now, minus July? That's 3 months behind. So that's 90 days. So you can't wait 90 days for money supply, right? Okay. Fred API will undergo scheduled maintenance on September 16th. So tomorrow, when they had, today. Maybe that's why it's not updated. But yeah, this has cost the government and taxpayers 250 plus million, and it needs to go through another upgrade. And what do we get? Old data from July 2025 in September. Who can use that? Money printer. Everybody knows money printer. I mean, come on. Anyway, on that note, follow all the channels. This is where you get the alpha first. I'm going to bring you more and more insights. We know what you want. We know how you want to trade and what you need to know from a macro perspective. We've been doing this for 4 years, and we're finally beginning to see that the key people that matter are beginning to use Truflation and not worry about the BLS anymore. That is the modern world. And we will work And we'll support any government to try and make and use our data and help them actually get the data that we think is relevant, and use our technology if we can to help make it more transparent and real time, simultaneous for everybody and anybody to access, and verifiable. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Look out for tomorrow, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Happy Tuesday. Bye, everybody.